health. I'm glad you guys are here. So we'll wait for everybody to kind of join in and we'll get started. This is an opportunity for you to ask questions. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. As a reminder, this is not medical advice, it's for information purposes only. We are live on YouTube and Instagram. Good morning, you guys. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate it. And the waves. Good morning, Diane and Harker. Thank you for joining. So we'll get started here in a minute. If you guys have questions, don't hesitate to ask. I thought we would revisit. Good morning, Lucy. Thank you for being here. Lucy is a blue shield, a blue wrencher, one of my moderators over on YouTube. And she does an excellent job. So please thank Lucy for the job she does. She doesn't have to be here every weekend, but yet she is. And she's going through questions and helping me weed things out. And that's where we're at. Good morning, Lucy. I hope you're feeling well today. The other Lucy, sorry. You actually are both from the same place. So it's kind of cute. All right. We'll get started here. Please hit the thumbs up and the likes. If you are not already subscribed, please do so. It helps the algorithm. So we'll get this information out to as many people as we can. Medicine is a journey. I don't pretend to know it all. I'm on a journey with you guys. I'm learning, and it's actually a full-time job, and it's overwhelming at times, especially when you guys start asking questions and questions I don't know. I also find it overwhelming when people are so set in their ways. Somebody must be talking about me. When people are so set in their ways that they are living 30 years in the past. And I was once there, but I've jumped out of the matrix and I've opened my eyes to other possibilities. And one of the things that I'm finding is very important to discuss at this time is heart disease. Even though diabetes is the #1 cause of heart disease, our attention is not on diabetes and reversing it. It's on heart disease and cholesterol. And honestly, you guys, cholesterol is way down the list of causes for heart attacks and strokes. I'm not saying it's not on the list, okay? It's just further down. And so if we were to focus on the #1 cause of heart disease, which is diabetes or insulin resistance, then I think the amount of heart attacks and strokes that are happening or occurring would go down. But that's just my thoughts, okay? Lucy says she's going through CAR T immunotherapy, side effects, Rose GG. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, effects are rough. Gotcha. I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're with us. How about that? Yes, John. John is new here. John is asking if this is where we can ask questions, and yeah, and hopefully I know the answer. But if not, I will let you know. So yeah, you're very welcome for um for everything. I do this for you guys. Good morning, Arjun. Thank you for being here. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. You guys, who those are of you who are on Instagram, I want to bring your attention to a live fundraiser. For those of you who don't know me, I have a birthday in May. And for the month of May, I want to raise $100 for rescue, rehab, and rehome. It is a rescue that is near and dear to my heart. It's where I got my Norman tallow, and I believe they do good work. Many of the rescues that they get brought to Iowa, we call them transplants to Iowa, they are from Oklahoma. Now, don't ask me why Oklahoma has a lot of animals running and roaming the streets. That's where tallow was found. He was running the streets, and I've been blessed with his presence in my life. And so, yeah, it's wonderful. Um, Lucy, we might need to take care of one there. So use your best judgment. Okay. How is my mom? She's doing well. She is stable. Thank you for asking, Lucy. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lucy. The other Lucy, I appreciate it. I appreciate your being here for moderation. All right. Okay. So something that has come up, and let me just go to, I have notes and just don't want to forget anything. My last reel that I discussed, it went over big. They all are going over big right now. Um, okay, John. John wants to get his question. He's new here, so before we get into any teaching, I'll answer questions as long as they keep coming in. If not, I will pick a subject, which I already have, and talk about it a little bit more. But John asks, doctor ordered him a CT angiogram, and they tried to get it done 2 times at the hospital, but both times couldn't get the heart rate down into the 60s, which hospital says needs to be in order for a CT scan to be valuable. Is it a CT angiogram or a CT calcium score? I'm guessing you said angiogram, so it must be an angiogram. Is it possible that your primary care doctor or cardiologist could order you some a beta blocker prior to the exam to calm you down so you don't get all worked up? Because it is a bit nerve-wracking going into a CT scan, especially if it goes over you, and you're in a tunnel, but that's not always the case. But you might be a person, John, who gets a little worked up. You could take a beta blocker that would lower your heart rate down to where you would need it. I'm guessing your primary care doctor could order that. Hold on. She's Hold please. We have we have a problem. So hold tight. You guys, thank you for bearing with me. I do apologize for the interruption. So John, hopefully that answered your question about the CT angiogram and hopefully getting that going. Oh, they did give you metoprolol. Well, I mean, I don't know what the dose is they gave you, but maybe you need a little bit of Xanax as well. John, every radiology place will have their own um, requirements in order to run a CT angiogram. Getting you down in the 60s might be a bit tough. John, your calcium score is 0. What would be the reasoning for getting a CT angiogram? Oh, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's why I mess up. That's why I mess up the handles. I just read the first part or whatever part I can pronounce really easy. So it's Jana, right? Jana is a 61-year-old female. Jana is getting prepared for a CT angiogram if, in fact, it is needed. So I do apologize, Jana. Um, please forgive me. Lucy says, if anyone has a health question, please add a QQ in front of it and post it here. If you want your questions answered right away, please use a super chat or even give a super sticker. I would appreciate it. It helps this place go round and round. Okay. So again, if you guys are new on Instagram or just are present, please consider giving a donation to Rescue Rehab and Rehome. I'm trying to raise $100 in my birthday month of May. So I would really appreciate it. And even if it's $1, it all adds up, you guys. It helps this organization. Let's see. No other questions. Okay, so let's talk. Oh, I see. Okay, this actually plays into what I was going to talk about. John says that he's got high LP little a, so high LP lipo A. Just so we are on the same wavelength, okay? Jonna says that she's got high LP little a, so lipo A, high ApoB, and high LDL. Jonna, if you could help me out, let me know what you are eating. What diet are you on? Okay. Uh, looks like we got another one there, Lucy. So we probably need to do some cleanup over there. So Jonna is telling us that the reason they're doing a CT angiogram with a 0 calcium score, the power of 0 says, and that's the MESA study. It was a meta-analysis of the MESA study, went and basically looked at a bunch of studies, okay? And this is summarizing it, of course, that if you have not had an event, a heart attack or stroke, or have any form of coronary artery disease, you do not smoke, you do not have diabetes, then the power of 0 says your risk of having a heart attack or stroke is very low. So I don't know what Jonna consumes on a regular basis, but let's go over LP little a, ApoB, and LDL. Every VLDL, IDL, and LDL, and LP little a, those are all LDL-like particles, okay? Every LDL starts out as a VLDL from the liver. Every VLDL, IDL, LDL, LP little a has an ApoB. It is a protein attached to those particles. ApoB, it is a protein. LDL is a low density lipoprotein. The protein portion of it is ApoB. The lipo is the fat, the cholesterol that's inside the particle. Cholesterol cannot just flow in the bloodstream because it's fat soluble and you're in blood, which is water soluble. They don't mix. Water and fat don't mix. Okay. So the fat and cholesterol have to be carried in a particle that is called a lipoprotein. So in this case, all of VLDLs, IDLs, LDLs, LP little a's have ApoB as their protein source. LP little a has an ApoB, like I just said, but it also has an ApoA. All right. Please do not mix this up with an HDL that has an ApoA1. Totally different. Okay. So if we measure all of the ApoBs, we are measuring all of the VLDLs, triglycerides, the IDLs, the LDLs, and the LP little a's. If a lot of the ApoBs are VLDLs, triglycerides, then I am going to assume with high probability that you are metabolically unstable. And you can fix this with diet. By lowering your carbohydrates, low or no carbs, you will lower the amount of VLDL carrying triglyceride molecules, particles in your blood. All right. If there are no triglycerides, there's nothing for the liver to package up. If there's very little triglycerides in your blood, then the liver only has to package up a little bit of triglycerides. So could the ApoB be skewed if you have high triglycerides? Absolutely. Okay. If you have high triglycerides, the chances of you having small, dense LDLs, which are the sticky, dangerous kind, is very high. So if we were to explain and really look at Jonna's lipid profile, look at her insulin level, look at what she eats, okay? Because Jonna could be a carnivore. Jonna could be a carnivore eating a bunch of saturated fat and cholesterol. And the liver is packaging it up, and she has a high LDL. And those LDLs happen to be large, buoyant, fluffy ones. Okay. Now, where we run into a problem is if Jana has not so good receptors on her liver. So let's talk about the pathway of an LDL. Okay. So in the liver packages up triglycerides and cholesterol and packages it up into VLDLs and then sends the VLDL out into the bloodstream. And the VLDL dumps off its triglycerides in tissues and cells that need it. It's an energy, it's a fuel source. All right. Now, if once the VLDL dropping off all the triglycerides, it shrinks down into an IDL, intermediate density lipoprotein. And then it shrinks down into an LDL. And the LDL is minus triglycerides. So it's the VLDL has dumped off its triglycerides. It's become an IDL. Now it's an LDL with no more triglycerides, but it does have cholesterol. So the LDL will now deliver the cholesterol to the cell membranes and wherever it's needed. Okay. Then the LDL has done its job and it recirculates back to the liver. If there's any remnant cholesterol that needs to be cleaned up from the bloodstream or the tissues or cells, that's where HDLs come in. They come and pick up the remnant cholesterol and bring it back via reverse cholesterol transport. That's called reverse, when the HDL picks up the remnant and brings it back to the liver. Now, when the LDL travels back to the liver, consider liver the home for LDL. It's the home. What if the liver home doesn't have very good receptors on the liver? There has to be an LDL receptor to accept the LDL. If Jana's LDL receptors are only half there or they're damaged, she runs the risks of the LDL staying in the bloodstream. Now, if Jana is eating a carnivore, eating lots of saturated fat, or even carbohydrates, the liver sees this fuel and has to package it up into VLDLs. So the liver is trying to get rid of the VLDLs. There's too much energy. The liver can't take it. The liver might have even shut down, taking in more of the LDLs from the bloodstream. There's a lot going on. And what doctors see is, oh, you have an LDL. It's high, according to us. We made up the numbers, of course. We make up a number of 130 and we say, yes, you need a statin. Everybody needs a statin. Even if it's not appropriate, you need a statin because doctors, follow standard of care. Who made up standard of care? Not sure. I'm not sure. You guys aren't sure either, right? Who made it up? Who made up the numbers? Was it some three-letter agency? Was it the insurance company? Who? So doctors follow this standard of care, all right? And they get paid by following standard of care. If they don't follow standard of care, they don't get reimbursed quite so much, if at all. So they have an agenda to protect themselves with standard of care so they don't get sued, and an agenda to get paid. Do they care really about Jana and her ApoB and LP little a and her LDL particles? Because if doctor wants to lower LDL and give a statin, and you guys know what statins are, they basically block cholesterol production in the liver. That's what their job is. They block the mevalonic pathway. The mevalonic pathway at the very end, way downstream, produces cholesterol and other things like vitamin D and vitamin K and CoQ10 and isopenoids. All of these things are produced along the mevalonic pathway. So the statins block it. But here's where the problem comes in. If Jana has a high LDL, not because her LDL receptors are bad, her liver is fine. Okay, I'm guessing. I'm speculating because I don't have Jana's lab report in front of me. I don't know what her triglycerides are. I don't know what her HDL is. I don't know what she eats. But let's just assume that Jana has good LDL receptors on her liver. Yet her LDL is still very high. What is the cause? Is her liver pumping out too much LDL? Is her liver producing cholesterol? Or is she just reabsorbing too much? How would you know? Well, you can get testing because if you don't have a overproduction problem of LDL, then you probably have an overabsorption problem of LDL. Okay? There are receptors in our gut that take up cholesterol. They're only supposed to take up a certain amount, but if your receptors in the gut are hypervigilant, meaning they are overactive vacuum cleaners, they are going to put LDLs back into the bloodstream. All right? We don't want that. Part of what our gut does is get rid of excess cholesterol that we don't need. But if you are a hyper absorber, you are taking it back out of the gut and putting it back into the bloodstream to be recirculated over and over and over again. If you give a statin to that person, you just increase their risk of more absorption. Why? Because the body senses that the statin came on board through, and is stopping production of cholesterol from the liver. The body senses that and says, uh-oh, we don't have enough cholesterol. So I'm going to reabsorb more. Our body needs a certain amount of cholesterol, right? You guys know this. So if we shut down the production in the liver by a statin, and Jana is a hyperabsorber, she's going to start absorbing even more cholesterol. She's going to absorb even more LDLs. So the LDL is going up, and you go, how can that be? I'm giving a statin. This person's on a high dose statin, yet their cholesterol, LDL, won't budge. Well, dummy, you're giving the wrong medication. You're giving a medication to shut down production when the problem of high LDL is an absorption problem. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody should be on a statin. Maybe they don't need to be on a statin at all. These are the things that I did not know. I admit it. We don't know these things. Doctors don't know. They just treat the number. And if that don't work, we'll just add more medicines. We'll just add them all. We'll give a statin and a PCSK9 and a CTEP inhibitor, and then we'll block some other injectable and give a whole bunch and block the PCSK9 inhibitors from even being formed in the liver. I know that is a lot of information, and you didn't ask for that, but just keep in mind that there is a medicine for every type of problem. Okay? They work on different receptors, and one doesn't isn't the answer for every type of problem we have. Is there Jiminy Christmas, you guys? Is there a problem called familial hypercholesterolemia? There is. But what is the cause of the FH? Are they do they have an LDL receptor problem? Do they have a PCSK9 problem? Do they have an ApoB problem? We don't know unless you check. You can't just look at an LDL and say, oh, it's over 190, you have FH. Well, that person could be a hyperabsorber. That person could be a carnivore. And you're going to just label them with a FH diagnosis when you didn't even look for any genetic potential. It's just, you guys, that's what drives me kind of crazy now that I know. It's like my eyes are opened, and now I'm looking at how all of you guys are being treated by your doctor. It just, um, dial up. Wait. Let me make sure. Iron Lady Doc, have you heard about the 197 study on mebendazole and ivermectin fighting cancer? I am guessing it's the orthomolecular study. Is that it, dial-up? Is it the orthomolecular study that was done on mebendazole and ivermectin for cancer? They have developed a, protocol for cancer treatment. Hey, Seuss, I'm sorry about your constipation. Yeah, Lucy, what do you eat? You know, what are we eating that's causing this? Uh, Sudeep says low carb versus no carb. What about it? Is that a question? I'm not sure. Hi, Gina. Thanks for being here. Okay. Looks like I've gotten. Jeffrey says, thanks for all of the healthcare assistance during the last 1.5 years. All lab work is now perfect with the Italian doctor that has taken over my care. I'm completely healed and back on track. Jeff, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, how long are you guys staying there? But that's incredible. 1.5 years. Yeah, I started doing this June 25th, 2023. June 25th, 2023. It will be 3 years. Okay, yeah, Studio. Is that the Joe Tipper protocol for cancer? Is that the orthomolecular one with the high dose vitamin C, high dose vitamin D, mebendazole, and ivermectin? I'm not sure. I know that the study was done. And I believe it was in orthomolecular. You can look it up on PubMed. Marion, we do not answer or have requests to be in the live video with me unless I have a special guest. Power asks if one has a CAC score of 139 in the LAD, which is one of the main arteries, so the LAD in the right coronary, RCA, and high ApoB, what do you do? Power, the CAC score is a history book. The 139 is your history. That is what injuries you have had in your past causing an injury to the lining of the artery, now elevating a blood clot, and then that blood clot calcified. That is your 139. That's your history. It's in the LAD. Okay. What are your other markers? What is your LDL? What is your triglyceride level? What is your HDL level? What's your insulin level? What's your high sensitive CRP? What's your fibrinogen and factor 8 levels? What is your LP little a? Do you have fatty liver? What's your AST, ALT, GGT? I absolutely cannot answer what you should do or suggest anything on what you should do without enough information. Okay. So I would maybe consider signing up for a consultation. You can email me at ironladydoc@aol.com, IRON, iron lady, LADY, doc, at AOL.com. Let's set it up. Let's go over your labs. Let's talk about this because, you know, maybe you have nothing and maybe you have something, but your past does not necessarily give you a genetic death sentence or a death sentence for your future. You have to know what is going on. The only reason that heart attacks are occurring is because there are injuries to the lining of the arteries. Things that cause injuries to the lining of the arteries is like sugar and insulin and alcohol and smoking and nanoplastics and heavy metals and seed oils and iron overload. All of these things cause injury to the lining of the arteries. And then a blood clot forms to fix it up. It's a bandage. That is our normal immune system. If the injury keeps occurring, then you get, instead of resolution of the blood clot by your normal biologic processes in your body starts to calcify and protect you from that blood clot breaking down. But if you have soft plaque, the blood clot, that continues, you're going to continue to get calcification. So, does your ApoB mean anything really? Well, it means something if you have very high triglycerides and VLDL, because those things you can fix tomorrow. Stop carbs, stop alcohol, stop smoking, start exercising, get out in the sun, get some nitric oxide on board. There's so many things that we can do to protect ourselves, to prevent disease, yet we jump on the first bandwagon of medication. Why? Because that's what we've been taught. That's what doctors are taught. And the doctors are going to spew their information to you. And then that's all you think. You get a sniffle, here's your medication. You got LDL, here's your medication. You got diabetes, here's your medication. When really diabetes is toxicity of carbohydrates. You're eating too many carbs. You're under a lot of stress. You can't relax. You're not sleeping. You don't pray and meditate and exercise. You don't go for long walks out in nature. I used to think there was a medication, a pill for every ill. And now I know for a fact that you guys can heal your ill. You can stop making yourself ill by what you eat, what you drink. You are causing 75% of the problems in your whole body. Okay. I had an interesting case this week with a gentleman who wholeheartedly believed that he was protecting himself and living a life of ultimate health. And he hired me as a consultation, not because he was really feeling that bad. He really had not many symptoms, but he had some numbers that were very obscure. And so as I got talking to him more and more, he was eating a ton of plant foods. Was he a vegan? No, he ate a little bit of fish, a little bit of meat, but a lot of plant foods to the point where he was actually shutting down his own immune system. I know it sounds crazy, right? But he was increasing his risk of having a heart attack, let alone calcium oxalate stones from high amounts of oxalate toxicity in his body. Yet, he was not yet experiencing joint aches and pains and muscle aches and pains, but he was spilling oxalates in his urine, you guys. His body was trying so hard to get rid of so many oxalates that he was peeing them out, yet never had a calcium oxalate stone yet. Yet. A gentleman in his 70s. And if you were to look at him, he looked like epitome of health. And all I did was point out some things that, you know what, uh, Brad, I don't know how much longer your body can sustain this. And then you're going to get a symptom. You could go for another 30 years. I don't know. You could go for another 1 year. I can't predict that. All I can say is what I'm seeing, what you hired me for, to look at these markers, is not going in the direction that I would suggest. And so this individual took that information in both ears, and it's rattling around in his brain right now. And he's wondering, am I ready to make a change? And so that's how that goes. Okay. But sometimes when we go overboard on what we're eating and we go overboard on supplements, we can be causing the absolute worst scenario going on in our body. And that's what this gentleman was doing. Okay. How do you fix high ApoB? Studio, I don't know what the components in your blood are raising your ApoB. If it's high triglycerides over 70, then lower the carbohydrates in your body to lessen ApoB. If you are a carnivore studio and you're eating a lot of saturated fat and you have a lot of LDLs on board, Simply cutting back on the saturated fat and consuming more monounsaturated fat will help lower the amount of LDLs in your bloodstream. Okay. I don't know what your blood work suggests. You're just telling me an answer to an ApoB question, and I would tell you those are the ways that you can lower VLDL, IDL, LDL, and LP little a. Okay. Power says I have low trigs and high HDL. So if low trigs means under 70 and high HDL means over 70, then power, we still don't know. Do we have an LDL receptor problem or do we have an hyperabsorption problem? So you could get a cholesterol balance test if you have a production problem. Your lathosterol, 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 or desmosterol will be elevated if you are a hyper producer of cholesterol. If you are a hyper absorber and you want to check your NPC1L1 receptors in your gut, if they're hyper absorbing, then you could get a siderosterol level or a camposterol level and decide if you are a hyper absorber. I don't know. Those are some extra tests that you can get. Get an insulin level. If your insulin level is between 3 and 5, that's a good thing. I mean, if it's over 5, you could have some fatty liver. Your liver is choking on fat. Do you think it wants to take in any more LDL when it's already choking on its own fat? No. Kind of an LDL receptor problem, but really it's a liver problem choking itself off. I can tell a lot about your liver from looking at your lipid panel. I know that sounds crazy, but by looking at your lipid panel, your cholesterol, your trigs, your HDL, LDL, sometimes they'll have a VLDL or non-HDL, they'll call it. I can tell a lot about your liver. If your trigs are high and your HDL is low, I know that your liver is struggling with and choking on fat. Okay. But then I'll add an AST, an ALT, a GGT, and an ALK phos, and I'll really get some information. I'll even get a CBC and check an MCV level. Okay. All of that can tell me about your liver. Jaham says, do you know of a natural treatment to lower glaucoma pressure? Well, do I have a treatment that will lower pressure in general? Yeah, it's called a low insulin provoking diet. Low insulin. Studio says, I have small particles. I'm not sure what that means. Do you have small dense LDLs or do you have LP little a's? You have low trigs. Does that mean less than 70? And you're not carnivore. I'm, again, not enough information, but Studio, if you would like to sign up for a consultation, we can go over everything. So email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. Okay. Jesus says, I only eat meat, eggs, and fruit, but I also have and eat a lot of pain pills. Well, Jesus, you're causing a number of problems by consuming pain pills. What is your pain from? Could it be from the fruit and the fructose and the glycation and the fatty liver disease that you're making for yourself? Could that be increasing your inflammatory body? Could that be increasing your immune system as far as the M1 macrophages are concerned and they're causing more and more problems? Sounds like a possibility to me. Jesus, you might want to, or is it Jesus is king? I'm not sure. So I'm going to go with Jesus is king. And I would suggest that you sign up for a consultation. Dial-up says apoptosis in cancer cells is a very hopeful thing. I would agree. Apoptosis means a condition of cell death, hopefully just the cancer cells dying. And yes, maybe it was the study. I only heard it from John Campbell on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not sure, but look it up on PubMed. So you go to PubMed and look up the orthomolecular study. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the $5. Been so sick lately. Haven't gone number two, but 3 times in a month. Went to the ER twice, having dizziness and now stomach pain in front. Um, Brian, I'm sorry to hear that you've been so sick. Thank you for the super chat. There's something going on, right? You got to look at your labs, you got to look at scans, get a CT scan of your belly and figure out what's going on, right, Brian? There's something going on. If it sends you to the ER and something that is only allowing you to have 2 to 3 bowel movements in a month, that's not right. Okay. And so you got to be very careful. Sudeep says, should humans, us, animals, we are animals, ever consume carbs at all? Should? How about, do we need carbs at all? And the answer is no, there's nothing essential about a carbohydrate. So should you? That's up to you. Should, would, could, those are up to you. You have to take the information that you learn and ask yourself, do you want to consume carbohydrates? It's hard for me to think of a scenario unless you are running 72 hours straight in a road race and not consuming anything. And you might need a little carbs. Okay. I don't know. I don't know how your glycogen stores are. So yeah, Sudeep, I can't answer that. But if you're talking about, are carbs essential? They are not. You could live the rest of your life never eating a carb. Okay. Miss Young asks, can you educate us briefly on eating clean and exercising during the week? So I don't know what eating clean is, Miss Young. I'm going to have to be honest. I mean, when I think of clean, I think of soap and water. So does that mean you're just washing off your food and calling it clean? I know it sounds sarcastic, but I really need you guys to start being very good with the details. There's no such thing as a clean diet unless you're talking about soap and water cleaning off your stuff, your food. Okay. So be specific. And exercising. What does that mean? Exercise means to me working sets and reps to failure. Are you lifting weights? Or are you simply going out for a stroll with the dog and calling that exercise? I don't know. And then Miss Young asks, so you do the clean thing and you do the exercise, and then on weekends you cheat. For me, I tend to have alcohol and eat some junk foods. I'm ketovore or carnivore and OMAD. Now, Miss Young, you know, I don't know how that's working for you. I don't know how much muscle mass you have. Alcohol is a poison. So you are deciding that you're going to put a liver poison in your body. That is up to you. You're going to eat some junk foods. Well, you're going to put junk in your body and you call it a cheat. You call it a cheat. I call it a health hazard. So you have to decide what you want to do with your temple of the Holy Spirit. Do you want to cheat and put toxins in your body? You call it junk food. I call it crapola. Crapola has no nutritional, it has no nutrients, no nutritional value. It's called junk for a reason. But you call it a cheat, or you call it, I'm just going to be, I'm going to live it up for the weekend with some alcohol and some junk, which is not real food. It's frankenfood or whatever. Okay. So that's something that you have to think about. You're going to spike your glucose for a weekend. You're going to raise mTOR. You're going to decrease autophagy, and you are going to increase your risk of glycation. So you're aging every weekend more so than if you don't do those things. So if you're okay with little more wrinkles and a little more muscle deterioration, a little more bone deterioration than normal, then I suggest you do what you want. If you want to do the the junk food on the weekend and drink some alcohol and have fun, then you're signing up for aging. You're rusting in your body faster than somebody who doesn't eat junk on weekends and drink alcohol. Deborah says, I don't think that is true. Your kidneys. What is not true, Deborah? Elaborate. I can't read your mind at all. I don't even, yeah. Linus says, post hip surgery and craving organ meat. That is a good thing to be craving. I've once craved sardines. Having 3 ounces daily cause for any concern? No. Vitamin A overload? I doubt it. Remember, Linus, that vitamin A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. Okay. And from what I know of you, Linus, from the past, you don't have very much fat on your body. So you're very lean. So the chances of your vitamin A or D or E or K getting sequestered, stuck in fat tissue on your body is pretty slim. So your body is likely, you know, needing enough vitamin A. Now, of course, you know, if you're taking a whole bunch of vitamin D with eating those with eating those organ meats, and you're taking vitamin D, now you could be doing something to your vitamin A level, but usually it's lowering it. So then the organ meats would be a good thing. So it just kind of depends, Linus. I would say that the chances are pretty slim that you're toxic on vitamin A, but if you're worried, just go to every other day. Also, is there a possibility, and I don't know this, people, for anti-aging, tend to use retinols on their skin. So that is basically vitamin A. And so people who eat a ton of organ meats and they're using retin A on their skin, could they be getting toxic on vitamin A? I mean, it's possible if it can get through the skin barrier and get into the bloodstream. But if we're worried and you're normally eating 3 ounces of an organ meat every single day, just get a vitamin A level and that will tell you. Just get a vitamin A. It's pretty, I don't know what it costs, $40 maybe, $37. A Electric says, Iron Lady, how can we stop this horrible food they're giving our children? Who's giving our children the horrible food? Who? Is it the parent? Is it the school? If it's the parent, talk to the parent. If it's the school, talk to the parent. Does the kid have to eat the school food? No. Does the kid have to go to the neighbors and eat their food? No. Talk to the parent. If the parent stops the horrible food, the child learns not to eat the horrible food. If the parent provides another source that is good food, they're making a decision. Kids do not make decisions. Parents make decisions for the kids. If a child lives with a child learns what they live, okay? So if parent eats horrible food, child is going to eat horrible food. Talk to the parents. The parents are in charge. They're in custody of the child. They make the decisions. Unless, of course, the child is over 18. Now, the child learns what they live and they go on being an adult eating horrible food simply by what they live. And maybe one day they will turn the tables, their eyes will open, they'll jump out of the matrix and say, I've been killing myself since the age of 18 and I'm ready to make some changes because I've had a heart attack and I got depression and I can't sleep and my joint aches. And I'm not skipping and singing the happy song down the street any longer. It all catches up. Summer, is anyone seeing my questions or is my phone glitching again? Yeah, I'm not. This is the first time I've seen your stuff, Summer. So if there is a word that is if you have a word in your question that is off limits to YouTube or the hidden words in YouTube, then your question's not going to go through. And I do apologize, but kinda. We keep a lot of words hidden so they do not trigger the algorithm to take us offline. Okay? No, I still don't see it, Summer. So, right, Lucy, exactly. Using a word that's being blocked. Yes, thank you. If anybody would like to schedule a consultation, please email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. Okay. QQ says, which is Lucy, says, do you know what are the best tests for the gut? What problem with the gut? Are we talking about inflammation? You know, I think you should be checked for celiac. Think you should be checked for leaky gut, which is usually getting a zonulin level. You can get an LPS level, a lipopolysaccharide, which tests for an endotoxin from gram-negative bacteria in our gut. But Lucy, usually I say, why test? Just do an elimination diet because if somebody's having trouble with their gut, it's from something they're eating or drinking. Okay, so stop everything, either fast or go to an elimination diet, which is usually a lion diet, which is meat, salt, ruminant meat, salt, and water. It is the number one elimination diet. Now, of course, that's not medical advice. You need to check that out with your research, of course, or your doctor, and if they even know what a lion diet is and what an elimination diet is, or what is wrong with your gut, which is usually inflammation. So they'll just give you some sort of an anti-inflammatory pill for your ill and say, see you later. Come back if you have a problem. Right, Lucy, I agree. We shouldn't think about diets. We should think about a lifestyle. JT eats whole foods only, lifts weights 5 days a week. Sounds good so far. 3 days of yoga and 3 days of running. Two cheat meals a week, but nothing crazy. Cheat meal might be a burger and baked chips. Okay. And is JT doing well? How is JT doing? How's JT's triglyceride level? How's JT's HDL level? How and triglyceride level and insulin level and fibrinogen level and HSCRP level? How is, you can say I'm doing fine, but are you? I mean, if you're really into how fine you are and 2 days a week you want to eat, I don't know if they're good burgers, fake burgers, but maybe JT was like me, eating a homemade burger with a tiny little bun in order for my two fingers, actually three, my pincher grasp, to hold on to the burger and eat that. And so that little bit of carb might not have done anything, but baked chips full of seed oils, probably not for me. Again, JT makes a decision and that's what they're doing. So yeah, and again, Lucy, what are whole foods? Are we eating a bunch of fruit and a bunch of bagged spinach, which is increasing our oxalates as well as fructose going into our liver? Again, maybe an AST, ALT, GGT, elk phos, and an MCV on a CBC would be, the best thing that JT could do to see how bad those crapola cheat meals are doing for JT's body. But again, JT might not care, and that's fine too. 2 days a week, JT wants to eat poison, and that's great. That's great. That's JT's body. Lucy says, that is what I think. Elimination diet. Oh my gosh. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. That's tomorrow. Thank you, Ward. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Elimination diet. Yeah. Since that food is poison in Fiji, I'm always bloated. And lately, all I hear is parasites. That's a possibility. I mean, you could have parasites. I mean, who knows? You know, things live rent free in our body all the time. We're just feeding them. So elimination diet and see what's going on. See if it clears up. All right. Okay. I guess it's Harvey. Harvey Wardell. Thank you, Harvey. Yeah. All right. Very good. Did I miss anything over here? Miss Young says, here's some details. I lift weights, play ice hockey, pickleball, sauna, running. Excellent, right, Miss Young? That sounds like a perfect plan. Then the junk foods are ice cream, potato chips, but not all every weekend. Okay. Again, Miss Young, you've heard my spiel, probably 3 years worth of my spiel, and you have enough information to make an informed decision for yourself. I'm not going to tell you to eat crapola. I'm not going to give you a pass to eat crapola. You are a grown adult, I'm guessing, and you can make your own decisions on whether or not you want to eat crapola. Now, potato chips and ice cream have tremendous amounts of seed oils in them. Okay. Now, seed oils will stay in your body for, I don't know, 5 years. 5 years. Seed oils will incorporate themselves into your cell membranes. They are polyunsaturated fatty acids, so they have multiple double bonds where oxidation can occur. And when there's oxidation, you have destruction of cells. So you're getting cell destruction every time you consume seed oils. Now, I can just give you this information and you can either take in one ear, bounce around in here in your brain, or you take it in one ear and it shoots out the other side. That is up to you. Okay. I can only give you what I feel are facts about what's going on. Okay. Are you a vegan? No, I am not. Do you believe I don't eat any vegetables? I don't eat plants at all. None. One, coffee. I drink coffee. Do you believe in investment fasting? Oh, intermittent fasting, I'm guessing. Intermittent fasting? Do I believe in it? Of course I believe in it. It is a thing. So I have to believe. I mean, if you don't eat, that is fasting. So I do believe in it. Do I do it? It depends on what your definition of intermittent fasting is. Okay. Um, are you on like a 16-8? Are you on an 18-6 intermittent fasting? What would be the reason for intermittent fasting? Like, what is your goal of intermittent fasting? Is it simply to get into autophagy? You could actually eat a carnivore diet and be in autophagy all the time. If you are a female, maybe fasting is not a great idea. Or if you're a skinny, lean, ectomorphic male, maybe fasting is not in your best interest. Do I think overall people eat way too much? Absolutely. We eat when we look at food. You're eating, you're salivating, and you are increasing your first pass insulin secretion. You look at food and your pancreas starts to secrete because it knows that you're going to give in and eat some crapola. Okay. So yeah, I think we eat way too much. But as a female and with my age, I I don't fast that much. I fast if nothing is available. And when I set my mind to, I think I want to fast either spiritually or for a darn good reason, okay? I have darn good reasons for what I do. And even if I want to have what you guys consider a cheat meal, okay? I I have a darn good reason for it. And I tell myself that. We have a little counseling back and forth. Okay. So yeah, you can do fasting, but it just makes sure you're getting in enough nutrients and not getting muscle destruction. Muscle is the organ of longevity. And me personally, I want as much muscle as I possibly can. I lift weights as heavy as I possibly can. Most often. Sometimes I get into just go to the gym, do the thing, and walk out and say, "What was that? What was that, Malia? That was not. Was that doing you any service, or are you just wasting time?" So then I make amends and do better the next day. So muscle is the organ of longevity. I do not want to deplete or atrophy my muscles. So I want to make sure I'm getting enough protein and enough fat in my body to preserve and grow my muscles. That would be whether or not I fast or not. Um, Miss Young says, for 7 years, I never ate that crap, junk, and alcohol. This is a recent vice. I need to just stop. Then, yep, that would be it, Miss Young. Just stop. Okay. Summer, I explained that it was about PCOS, and when you mentioned it could trigger a word, and now that I comment explaining it is gone, but okay. So Summer's got a question about PCOS. In general, PCOS stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. Women who get PCOS are women who do not convert their testosterone to estrogen. All estrogens start out as testosterone. All estrogens in everybody start out as testosterone. If a woman does not convert her testosterone to estrogen, her estrogen is low. And so she develops cysts on her ovaries to try to push out more estrogen. So you're not even ovulating. You're thinking you need to get more estrogen out. You develop a cyst, it never goes anywhere to shoot out estrogen because there's no aromatase to convert testosterone to estrogen. So this person who's got PCOS has high testosterone levels and low estrogen. So they never ovulate. All right. So they're infertile. And if they have high testosterone, that means they have male pattern things going on. Male pattern because they have high testosterone. They could have hair growth, hirsutism. They're infertile. They have fat in all of the wrong places, usually on their liver, on their belly, and they have skinny little legs and an upper torso that they might not even have breasts. They might have little breasts, and then they have this big belly. They have insulin resistance. How do women get PCOS? They have hyperinsulinemia. In the presence of insulin, the testosterone can't aromatize in the ovary. So if that person lowers their insulin level by usually lowering their carbohydrate to low or zero, then they reverse their insulin back down to 3 to 5, the optimal level, and the PCOS goes away magically. But we as doctors, and a pill for every ill, come to the rescue of the PCOS person, and we give metformin. And metformin lowers blood sugars. Does it lower insulin? No, because the person doesn't change their diet. They take the pill. The pill is metformin, and metformin is a known mitochondrial toxin. But in addition, metformin opens up the doors on cells and it makes more doors on cells to allow sugar from the bloodstream to go into the cells. But why wasn't the cell accepting the blood sugar in the first place? Oh, they were insulin resistant. When a cell is insulin resistant, it closes down its doors. So no more energy can come in. The cell is full. So doctor comes along to the rescue and gives metformin, which opens up the doors that the cell didn't want to open. So it jams in more food into the cell. It's choking on energy that it can't use. And metformin, being a mitochondrial toxin where the energy is formed, now you have a double whammy. So now your mitochondria are dying and you shoved energy into cells that didn't want anymore, and they become big giant cells. They get fatter. And now you start getting fat in places where you're not supposed to be fat. It's called ectopic fat, and that is visceral fat. So PCOS people have fatty liver disease, right? They don't have a deficiency of metformin. They have an over consumption of sugar and insulin. They have insulin resistance, which is hyperinsulinemia. Making sense? Summer, I hope that that answered your question. Great topic. Great topic. The reverse of PCOS in a female, or the counterpart to PCOS in a female is erectile dysfunction in a male. Erectile dysfunction in a male is insulin resistance. It's hyperinsulinemia. So basically, what I would like to say is men have a little ovary in their fat. They have aromatase enzyme in their fat. That fat on their belly, when they have a fatty belly, the shaky inner tube fat around their belly and their big fat beer belly, that is basically an aromatase. It's an ovary. So their testosterone is actually aromatizing to estrogen. That man is full of estrogen. Okay? Their testosterone is going down. They are less man and more woman when they got a fat belly. So they have a little ovary and now they get erectile dysfunction. Okay? A normal amount of insulin is needed in our body. We need it for vasodilation, vasoconstriction, vasodilation, vasoconstriction. But when a man is stuck with ED, usually they don't have enough vasodilation. So they have hyperinsulinemia, causing a bunch of problems and more fatty liver, fatty organ disease. So they're choking on their own fat inside their body. And they just call it a beer belly and they don't even drink beer. They got fatty liver disease, fatty pancreas disease, fatty tongue disease, fatty muscle disease, which is Wagyu beef. They got fatty every organ disease. Okay. Same with the female PCOS, fatty organ disease, hyperinsulinemia. Miss Young says, I'll be getting blood work soon and I'll report my results afterwards. Sounds like a plan. Vanessa asked, do GLPs work the same as metformin? Is that your question? Make sure I'm just reading people's minds, but make sure you give your exact question so I know what you guys are talking to. I'm just going to assume you mean, does GLPs work the same way as metformin? No, they are totally different. GLP is supposedly, it is a peptide hormone, a peptide in our gut. And, some in our muscles, there's some in other organs, but mainly in our gut. It goes down when we are obese. It goes down when we age. It goes down when we have diabetes. GLPs have their own set of problems, but it's not the same as metformin, no. Okay. Jack says, I tried fasting and lost quality muscle, won't do it again. I think that's a great plan, Jack. You need your muscle. You want all of your muscle. Okay? And you want to lift even harder, right, Jack? With more protein and more fat, more animal protein. Okay? Yeah, Billy says I only fast once a week or maybe 1 or 2 days. And that could be so maybe Jack loves the fast because he feels clean and feels energized. Then fasting once a week, once a month for Jack because he doesn't want to lose muscle might be perfect for Jack. For Billy, maybe Billy says, I can eat a ton. I could eat one meal of 20 ounces of ribeye and 6 eggs all in one shot, and I feel awesome. Then Billy could be the perfect intermittent faster at every 24 hours. Everybody's body is different, and Billy doesn't lose any muscle. So Billy keeps the nutrition going. It keeps the spigot running. Billy doesn't lose muscle, but Jack loses muscle. Yep, Summer, I'm so glad I didn't mean to read your mind. I don't think I did, but I thought I would just, take the baton and see if that's what you were asking. Hello, Uncle Charlie. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. You guys, right now, hit the thumbs up. If you are not 9 more people, if you can hit the thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. Okay. And for you Instagrammers, you will see a live fundraiser going for rescue, rehab, and rehome. It is in Iowa. It's probably not more than 10 miles from where I live. Please donate. This is my birthday month. My birthday is next Saturday. And yes, I will be here for you guys. I will be here because I enjoy this. So it's for me too. So my birthday is next Saturday, and I want to raise $100 in the month of May for rescue, rehab, and rehome. In fact, yesterday I saw them, one of the co-founders, And I mentioned that that is my goal for the month of May because it's my birthday. So no birthday presents. I don't need any birthday presents. What I do need is, or would like, I don't need, I would like you guys to support a rescue that is very near and dear to my heart. So please do that, you Instagrammers over there. And if you are on YouTube and you want to support Rescue Rehab Rehome, it's in Urbandale, Iowa. They are that 50c3, whatever it is. Okay. So if you just search to make a donation to Rescue Rehab Rehome, they have a Facebook page. So you can make a donation through there. But it means a lot to me. And that's what I want to do for the month of May. Okay. I don't know if you can let them know that I did that, but it doesn't matter. You're supporting the dogs, not me. I don't get anything for it. It's the dogs and the cats. So, all right, we went up with 4 more likes. If you guys are on YouTube, please hit the like button right now. Let's slam the like button and get that going. Let me make sure I did not miss any questions. Okay, Suzanne asks, how do you get rid of fatty liver disease from PCOS? Fatty liver disease is the result of hyperinsulinemia, high blood insulin. Insulin is a growth factor. You cannot get fat without insulin. Do you think that's impossible? I want to give you an example. A type 1 diabetic has no insulin, none. You could feed a type 1 diabetic 10,000 calories and they will never get fat if they do not dose their insulin. So if you, Suzanne, want to get rid of fatty liver disease, you need to lower your insulin to optimal at 3 to 5. How do you do that? Either fast, don't eat, or 2, don't eat carbs. Carbs raise blood sugar raises insulin. Okay? That's how you get rid of fatty liver disease. Okay, hold please. Got some dry lips. My lip stuff of choice is by CeraVe. Okay. And my other one, which I started out with, is by Paula's Choice. It is a lip balm and it has peptides in it. Imagine that. How do you feel about peptides, Dr. Jensen? I love them on my lips. I don't know if they're doing anything, but these feel awesome. These feel awesome. Paula's Choice. Peptide. 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 Pro Collagen Peptide Glossy Balm. I like the gloss. I like the shimmer and the shine. You know, when I was bodybuilding, you never wanted to shine. You wanted to shimmer. So they put oil all over your body, right? And we used to use Pam spray. Imagine that, putting that topically on my body. My poor little body. It went right through my skin and into my brain, probably. I don't know. But we would use Pam spray. Some people had special oils, but the Pam seemed to just do the job. But you don't want to like really put it on. You just want to shimmer, not shine. Shimmer, not shine. But with Paula's Choice, I think at the beginning, you shine and then you start shimmering. So shimmer. Okay. Vanessa was asking about GLPs because her sister had high cholesterol and was obese. So their doctor, a pill for every ill, gave sister a GLP in order to stop her from eating as much crapola that made her cholesterol and her obesity go up. So the pill for every ill doctor came to the rescue, gave sister a GLP, and her cholesterol went down. Imagine that. Less food was coming in. Less crapola food was coming in for the liver to have to process into VLDLs. Okay. But did sister learn how to eat, or we just eat less of what we got going on? Now, sister could be losing weight, could be lowering cholesterol. I don't know if we're talking about LDL, VLDL, IDL, LP little a. I don't know what cholesterol we're lowering, but we don't measure cholesterol in the blood. It's in a particle. So yes, it came down probably because she wasn't eating as much VLDL food, VLDL fake food. Okay. All right. Oh my gosh. 212 are just donated. Oh, you did it all in one shot. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Oh my God. You just gave me the chills. Somebody just donated all $100 all in one shot to Rescue Rehab and Rehome. I almost want to cry right now. You guys are amazing. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Dr. J. That's amazing. Thank you so much. That made my day. That's a perfect week before my birthday. Thank you so much. Okay. Um, Miss Young says last year my blood triglycerides 50, excellent. HDL 230. Something's going on, Miss Young, with an HDL of 230. Something is going on. An LDL of 150. We got shoot, we just lost Instagram. God darn it. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me get back online, YouTubers. Let me get back online with the Instagrammers. They just went dead. We were talking to Miss Young over there, so hopefully she'll get back on. In the meantime, Jack has a question about berberine. Is berberine contraindicated for someone on an antidepressant? I've tried everything else I can think of to lower my A1C, A1C of 6. Miss Young, if you're still there, please bring that question to light because I already forgot it. And I do apologize, you guys, on Instagram for, oh, good. Miss Young is back. Okay. Um, I guess I would have to look into, Miss Young, all of your other components and find out why your HDL is that high. Remember, HDL goes up when triglycerides go down, but usually not that high. Could you have a genetic HDL problem? Yeah, 212er. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. You did not have to do that, but you made my whole day. Thank you. Thank you so much. Um, that was awesome. That's an awesome gift. And I'm sure that they will contact me. They only sent Meta only sends the money over once a month. So I will make sure that they keep a heads up on the donation. Okay. I don't even know if they send thank yous to the donators. I really don't. I don't know how that works. Yeah, Jack, $100 in one shot. That guy's a hero. I think it's a girl, but I could be wrong. That's awesome. Okay, Vanessa is back as well. I do apologize, you guys. I don't know what is shutting down Instagram. I don't. Does PCOS cause ovarian cancer? That is a great question, RG. I don't know. You would think could, just like, they tell us that fibrocystic breast disease does not cause breast cancer, but I think that anytime we have an overgrowth of cysts all over our body, they are telling a person something. Should not have cysts. Do we have low iodine? Do we have low glycine? Why do we have cysts developing over? And could it be possible that many cystic ovary syndrome could lead to cancer? I can't put it past you. Why? Why? What would be the connection, RG? The thing is, you could treat ovarian cancer or treat the ovaries with estrogen. But if you treat because that's why the cysts are developing, they need estrogen, right? So if you give estrogen, could it go down? Like, do you give the birth control pill to a PCOS person to get their body to start making estrogen? Or it's not really making estrogen, you're just faking the body out by giving estrogen. But then could you be feeding breast cancer? I think so. So you're helping one area by giving estrogen, which is fake, it's synthetic, it's a plant. You're giving phytosterols, fake estrogen to the person with PCOS when get rid of what's causing the PCOS, which is high insulin, which is caused by high sugar, carbs, or alcohol. See, it totally makes sense in my little brain on what we should do. And what you guys are saying to yourself, Doctor, I hear everything you're saying, but I'm addicted to food, fake food. In fact, I'm addicted to crapola. I'm addicted to crapola. It hits my dopamine receptors. It makes me feel like $1,000,000 for 1 hour. And then I get guilt and disgust. And then you know what I said? I give up. And people say, F it. I'm just going to eat it. And then you just keep going. And then you develop inflammation. And then you develop hyperinsulinemia. And it's just on and on. It's a domino effect. And then you go to the doctor and they give you the pill for you're ill. And then you've shut down normal biologic and physiologic processes in your body. And yeah, I could go on and on. Sometimes I say, just tape your mouth shut with some duct tape, until your addiction goes away. It'll take you, I don't know, 3, 4, 6, 7 days, and then the addiction will go away. And then you clean out your house while you got your mouth taped shut. If you have fat on your body, you will not starve. Trust me. I will not starve for at least a month. If you taped my mouth shut with some duct tape, I could not eat. I probably could not drink, but you're gonna probably give me a little straw-sized hole, just like they did with the coverings over our mouth, so you could still drink. So we just cut a little slit so you could fit that straw in there so you could still drink and maybe even eat. You made it a little bit wider. I mean, you guys, the the ignorosis that went on about 6 years ago is just beyond my comprehension for my little brain to work. Anyway, hopefully, I don't know if I answered RG's question, but hopefully I did. But back to Jack. Is berberine a a problem in somebody who's on an antidepressant? I'm not sure. Why would we be using berberine? You know, you're using berberine as a natural metformin to lower your blood sugars. My thing is, stop whatever is raising your blood sugars. You don't need the pill for every ill. A berberine is a pill. You just say it's natural. It is not natural. It was put into a pill. It was processed. Get rid of what's causing the root cause. Stop with all the pills, you guys. Stop. You don't need them. You do not need them. And your A1C will come down. If you're carnivore for 5 years and you have an A1C of 6, something you're eating is raising your blood sugars. Or you have humongous amounts of stress. You are not sleeping. You are not exercising. You're just functioning on a carnivore diet. That's functioning. It's not thriving. So something's going on. An antidepressant, I'm not going to tell you one way or another whether that's the right move or not, but something is causing stress and anxiety and depression. What is the root cause? You do not have a deficiency of antidepressants. Trust me, there's no deficiency of antidepressants in your body, but something is a trigger. Have we gone to counseling? Have we done cognitive processing therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy? And there's another one called DMB, I can't even think about what it is. There are so many techniques. I'm really a big believer in therapy as long as you have a good therapist who knows what is going on and knows how to use these things. But we got to find the root cause of why we have anxiety, depression, stress. Okay. All right. Summer says, so true. I did a water fast for 11 days to break my sugar addiction. We can go without eating and still be okay. Absolutely. See, as long as you have fat on your body, I maybe didn't finish that. As long as we have fat on our body, we have fatty acids supplied by that fat. You will start to break down in the presence of no insulin. You will start breaking down fatty acids on your body. You break down the fat. You'll break down fatty acids. Fatty acids will convert to ketones, and now ketones become your energy source. Ketones are worth 4 calories, just like a carbohydrate. So they are an energy source, an even better energy source. We can call it cleaner, Miss Young. And a ketone is cleaner. It is an excellent source of energy for our heart and our brain and every tissue. A ketone has the same amount of calories and is much more beneficial than any carb. Okay. So we will break down fatty acids and we will form ketones and you will live off of your fat that's on your body. Like for me, I maybe could make it 2 months. I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not telling you I have a lot of fat on your body, but you would be surprised how much fat you have on your body. And you just drink water and maybe have some salt or electrolytes, and your body will start using its own water. It will make its own water. Imagine that. That's how well your body can compensate. Yeah, it's not that you crave the right foods after you fast, but it when Summer ends her fast for the 7 days or 11 days that she said, you know, or he, I'm not sure, but let's just say when Summer Love stops, you know, the fast, how do we go back? How do we start eating? Remember, your gut has kind of slowed down in this process too. So for me, out of a fast, what do I eat out of a fast? It would be eggs. They're 100% bioavailable. They're very easy to digest. They're very calming on your digestive system. That's how I would do it. Okay. KF, how do I lower my ApoB? This was a question asked earlier, and you might just have gotten here, but I don't know what your panel shows. ApoB is you count ApoB by adding up LDL, IDL, VLDL, and LP little a. I do not know, KF, what the cause of your high ApoB, if it's even high. I mean, who made that number up? The three-letter agencies or your insurance company or doctor, somebody so and so made up a normal ApoB level? Where did we get this ApoB? We found out that a lipoprotein exists, and then we found out that an ApoB is a protein that's on the LDL, the IDL, the VLDL, the LP little a. Imagine that, how medicine advances. So it's not written in stone, is it? So it could be that LDL is not the cause of heart disease. So it's not written in stone, right? It could be something else, like, I don't know, the thrombogenic hypothesis of coronary artery disease. You develop an injury and then a blood clot, and then that blood clot can sit juicy on the injury. It can maybe calcify the lid. Does it calcify the whole thing? Doubtful. Can we drain out the soft plaque? Yes, but you have to have a good immune system to do that. And if you already have a bad immune system, how do I know? Because you have an injury to the lining of your artery. So that means you have a bad immune system. But I've never been sick. Your inner arteries are sick. They're developing a soft plaque, an injury from over and over whatever you've been doing, eating sugar, having high insulin, smoking, drinking alcohol, breathing the air full of glyphosate. That's one more reason to put a mask over your face. I wonder why God didn't just develop a mask over our face. In fact, why did he even develop a nose that we breathe and a mouth that breathes? If he wanted us to cover up, wouldn't he just have developed a mask? It's crazy. It's crazy thinking. Okay. Staying keto drinks or takes 5% Lugol's iodine, 4 drops in the morning. What's your opinion on that? Staying keto, are you deficient in iodine? Did you do a test, a 24-hour urine test? Did you test it any other way? But for the most part, staying keto, your 4 drops of 5% Lugol's is probably okay. Most everybody is probably deficient in iodine. Why? Great question. Why is the human population in America or wherever low on iodine? Because America, for the most part, fluoridates their water, and they promote fluoride toothpaste and fluoride treatments every 3 months when you go to the dentist. Fluoride. Fluoride is a halide, just like iodine and bromide and chloride. They're all halides, and they sit on the iodine receptor, blocking iodine from attaching to its own receptor on every single cell in our body. And that's why we have so much hypothyroid these days. Everywhere you turn, it's like 1 out of 3 people have a thyroid problem. I mean, it's really amazing. But we have a bromide toxicity because it's in all of our clothes, it's on our furniture, it's in our carpet. Bromide, it's a flame retardant. Chloride, it's in our salt. Fluoride, just mentioned, it's in our water. You're probably drinking tap water every single day. You're probably doing fluoridated toothpaste. You have too much fluoride and it's blocking the iodine receptors. You have too much bromide and it's blocking the iodine receptors. You might have too much chloride. It's blocking the iodine receptors. So, staying keto, you're likely okay with your 4 drops. So, good question. Thank you. All good questions today. You guys are like awesome today. I love these questions. Um, Hormone sensitive lipase. Do you mean hepatic lipase is no longer suppressed by insulin during fasting? Correct? Hormone sensitive lipase. From the pancreas or in our mouth? So I'm I'm so sorry. Pa, I'm not sure what your question is. I can't even read between the lines on that. So lipase is secreted, and it breaks down fat. So if insulin is low and we're fasting, will lipase be more sensitive? Yes. Is that your question? But yes, we want to break down fatty acids and make ketones. We can only do that in a low insulin environment, somewhere between 3 and 5 or 2 and 5. Then we are able to break down our fatty acids and make ketones. Hopefully that was your question. Hotspot Casino, thank you for the super chat. Are you ready for the lab grown hantavirus? You know, this just came up with somebody they text me this hotspot casino early this morning. They were texting me and the question was about the hantavirus and we were actually talking about the World Cup. And I don't know where they got this, but it'll be amazing that the World Cup this summer, I think it's this summer. I don't know anything about the World Cup. And we'll see how many of the people come down with this hantavirus that is supposedly not supposed to be transmitted between human and human. It's only from rodent to human. But somehow the rodent virus is going to get into the humans and the humans are going to spread it from person to person to person. Seriously, they might know something I don't know. Hotspot, what is the hantavirus? It's the new thing. Lucy, I'm surprised you haven't been educated. I didn't know about it either. If it wasn't for the text, I had to look it up. So yeah, I turned off the information, the fake information from all channels and we'll just simply watch some sports. But I don't know about the World Cup. I don't know what it is. Is that soccer? Don't ask me. Yeah, exactly, Jack. The C 2.0. Exactly. Miss Young, you rock too. So thank you for the compliment. Okay. All right. Back over here to YouTube. I'm live on YouTube and Instagram. And yeah, if you guys are listening right now and you haven't slammed that thumbs up, please do so right now. Yeah, they will put it out more and more over the years. By the time the Olympics come to LA, I think they're in LA, we might not be able to have the LA Olympics. Is it in LA? Remind me. I do too, Lucy. I don't watch the garbage. Is anxiety and depression inflammation in the brain? Or you have inflammation in the brain and it caused anxiety and depression. Somewhere along the line, our nerves, neurotransmitters, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, their serotonin, they're not moving well in our brain. We have receptors in our gut as well for neurotransmitters, especially serotonin. So, is it possible that if you have a bad gut, like it's inflammatory, leaky, bad foods, plant foods going in, that you get a mess up with your serotonin just because of what you're eating? And then now your serotonin goes haywire. So you go to your doctor and they got a pill for every ill. So they put you on a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. They put you on something that inhibits a normal biologic or a biologic or physiologic process pathway in your body. When all you had to do was fix your gut by changing your diet, elimination diet, fasting, right, Lucy? Like fasting for how many ever days? So somewhere in your brain, could your brain be inflamed from all the sugar? Could your myelin sheath be not transmitting the neurotransmitters because you don't eat good fats for your brain like DHA and EPA? There's so many things that could be going on with a depression and anxiety and the cause. But it's not depression or anxiety that caused the inflammation. It's the inflammation that caused the anxiety and depression. Now you got to figure out, why do you have inflammation? Why are your neurotransmitters all messed up? Hotspot says, Chris Sosi, what is your diet? What's your gut health? You may have parasites. You could have parasites. Parasites live rent free in whatever we're eating, right? Um, I agree. Exposed to toxic metals like aluminum or cadmium or iron. We're starting to understand, you guys, that pathogens, whether they're parasites, virus, bacteria, fungi, they eat sugar, they eat iron. If you study, and maybe Hotspot wants to do this, study a ferroviral environment, an iron virus environment, an iron pathogen environment. There's a study that was brought to my attention probably a year ago. If you guys recall, there was an outbreak of TB, tuberculosis. And there happens to be a study on PubMed from the 80s, I believe, maybe the 90s, that was on high iron overload people, okay? People who have iron overload don't know they have iron overload. And you read about this, and TB actually grows bigger, faster, stronger in an iron overload environment. It makes it replicate, and it makes you more susceptible to TB, tuberculosis, iron. So Hotspot's onto something. Hotspot says toxic metals like aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, mercury, iron. Okay, iron. Lucy says the World Cup hosting cities: Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, New York City, Miami. Those are all the places that the World Cup is traveling to. So watch those hotspot cities, right? Hotspot, and see if just by coincidence things start springing up, some epidemic, pandemic, something or other, right? Is there a test for parasites? Usually, Chris, you start losing weight, okay? Because they're eating up all your food. But if you're eating a lot of food, then they've got their rent, they're living rent free. I don't know about parasites. I don't know if they're in us, out of us, whatever. But my thing is, let's just stop the sugar. Just stop the iron overload. Stop the multivitamins. Stop eating processed foods full of non-heme iron. Stop the plant-based diets and all of the raw plants that you consume, full of non-heme iron that's just building up in your system. You can't get rid of it, you guys. You can't even absorb it. It gets stuck and trapped in our tissues, and you are basically rusting from the inside out. But there's some signs on your skin. You could tell. I've seen a lot of signs on skin when I see people with iron overload, but we don't look for it as doctors. And if we do look, we call it the opposite. We call it iron deficiency and give you more synthetic iron, which is non-heme iron. So we just made your problem even worse. It's really crazy. And I didn't know any of this. I was in the dark, you guys. I was really in the dark. But, I had some people in my life who taught me a lot of things. And then I took and took the ball and started rolling with it. And I learned a lot. Learned a lot. And we do a lot of the things to ourselves. We are causing our own diseases. We have chronic inflammation. The key words chronic and inflammation. Your whole body's just an inflamed mess. And for the most part, we're eating a crapola diet. We don't exercise. We don't get in the sun. We don't pray. We don't stand barefoot on the ground. In fact, we don't even stand barefoot. We got Yeah, I listened to a podcast this morning talking about our shoes, that the soles are getting thicker and thicker and thicker. It's keeping us further and further and further away from the ground, so we can ground. So we can't ground. You got thick soles. You think you're walking on just clouds. I think I am. You buy your Hokas, you spend $180, and it's taking you further and further away from grounding. You are losing proprioception. I always thought that this was gonna be a problem. Do you know why? For myself, because I can't stand going barefoot. Can't stand it. I've been when I was a kid, my dad would tell us, "Put your shoes on, put your shoes on." We grew up at the lake, and he did not want to take us to the emergency room for a splinter or a cut on our foot. So we couldn't walk without our shoes on. So there was no barefoot, okay? There was absolutely no barefoot. There was no standing on the ground. I even got bit by stung by a bee one time. See what I told Dad would say, "See, I told you to put your shoes on." Do you think after that, yeah, all my life now, I don't take my shoes off. That's a problem, you guys. We lose proprioception. Your foot, the sole, never has a chance to stand on the ground. So you lose the neurotransmitters from your brain to the bottom of your foot to touch the ground. So you, over time, you lose your balance, your ability to balance. So it increases your risk of falls. And then you don't lift weight, so you have no muscle. So now you really have a problem. Okay. I just went dead on Instagram again. Oh, gee, many Christmas. Sorry, you guys. Let me get back on. Third time's a charm. Maybe we can get through it. Usually I just end by now when it goes 2 times. Okay. Instagrammers, I am so sorry. Are you still there? Are you still there? Can you hear me? Instagrammers, can you hear me? Hit a thumbs up or a like or a heart or a clap or a something or other and let me know that you're still here. Thank you, Susie and Kathleen, for rejoining. I don't know what's going on. I wish I did. Last night, watched the Earthing movie. Never heard of it. 1910 about grounding. Free on YouTube. Okay, you guys, is it 1910? Is it a good one? Should we all be watching it? Because it'll probably talk about balance, I'm hoping, because the proprioception as we age goes down. Sorry, Lara, I didn't mean to do that. I don't know what's going on, but I jump back on and we'll see where we go from here. Um, I like it as a background for cleaning. Oh, okay. So you were watching it while you were cleaning. Good idea. You were learning. Yeah, I know. It's Linus, I am so sorry. Yeah, let's see if it's back on for Instagram. I do apologize. Thanks for coming back, Linus. I appreciate it. I have a hard time sitting. Something's going on, 1910. You need to learn to relax. You need to learn to be with yourself. No TV, quiet, low light or amber light or red light, and you need calming. You need to decrease stress in our life. We need to increase parasympathetic tone and decrease chronic sympathetic overdrive. Okay. Take power back through changing your environment. I agree, hotspot. and what you put into your body. I can't agree more, Hotspot. You and I are thinking alike. Most parasites cannot stand oxygen-rich environments. Just like cancer, right, Hotspot? And the Warburg effect, right, Hotspot? I'm sure that's where you're kind of leaning to. What environment does a cancer love? Do they love acidic, alkaline, with oxygen, without oxygen? What do they love to burn? What do these cancers cells, how do they function? Where do they get their energy? Where do they live? Kathleen, what are your thoughts on an elevated LDL cholesterol in postmenopausal women who are not on HRT? The estrogen was your protection. When your estrogen goes down and you don't go on HRT, hormone replacement therapy, your LDL could go up. Is it always bad? No. Check the size of your LDLs. What is your triglyceride? If your triglyceride is over 70 and your HDL is under 70 and your insulin is above 5, then you are at risk now for cardiovascular disease, including heart attacks and strokes. Your estrogen was protecting you. Your estrogen was a fat burner. Your estrogen helped protect your heart, but now it's no longer. Can it be? Can you develop or make estrogen in your body even though you're menopausal? Absolutely. It's what your adrenal glands are for. Okay? Your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands make DHEA, but they can't make DHEA unless there's pregnenolone. And pregnenolone requires that cholesterol be on board, which is from animals. Cholesterol from animals, phytosterols from plants. So you need cholesterol from animals. Consuming animals will increase pregnenolone. Cholesterol increases pregnenolone. Pregnenolone tells the adrenal gland, if it's functioning good, to make DHEA. DHEA converts to androstenedione. Androstenedione converts to testosterone, and testosterone aromatizes to estrogens. And that's where you get your estrogen. But you have to have healthy adrenal glands, and you have to have pregnenolone, which requires animals consumption for cholesterol. All right. That was good. So, Kathleen, we need to know your triglycerides, your HDL, your insulin, your high sensitive CRP, and maybe a small dense LDL. And then we might be able to answer your question. Can my TMAO be healed? That is a good question. When somebody has high TMAO, it could indicate that they have a problem eating meat, red meat, especially. I would have to go through, they say, this is it coincidental? I don't know, that people with TMAO have high risk for cardiovascular disease, I believe. And if we just stop eating red meat, then your risk of having cardiovascular disease goes way down. So if you just don't eat any saturated fat, you're never going to die of a heart attack. I mean, isn't that a bunch of just, does your BS flag or your BS meter start going off and it's like going, woo, woo, woo? You know, it's like it's called a BS meter. I call it my BS meter. When I hear something and I go, yeah, something's not, yeah, I know it smells really bad, like fish. Yeah, it's like coming out of your body, your breath, everything. You stop eating red meat and it goes away. So I would need to actually, Solana, I would really need to look more into that. I think in 27 years, I've seen it one time, once in 27 years. Okay. So I am definitely not an expert on TMAO. Okay. And how, if anything, you block it. You know, I can't even remember the pathway. Is it the chiurine pathway where TMAO is produced? I can't remember. Yes, iron does sharpen iron. You're absolutely right. Proverbs 27:17. Iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17. Hi, Doc. Not on statins. no sugar or carbs, still high numbers. What numbers are high? What numbers are high? Help me out. Complete questions, you guys. You're very welcome, Kathleen. Did I miss a question in here? No, I did not. You guys, this is amazing. I did not do any educational topic this morning, and we can always save it for tomorrow. But okay. Heart apolipoprotein B above range 170. We don't know what above range is. Okay. So I don't know. You don't eat sugar or carbs. What is your ApoB in? Is your ApoB LDLs? Is your ApoB a whole bunch of IDLs? Is your ApoB a bunch of VLDLs? I don't know. So you could get an NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance imaging. It's an advanced lipid test, NMR, and you can tell your particle size and particle number, and that might give you a better idea. Do you have an LDL over 190? Could you have FH, familial hyperlipidemia, familial hypercholesterolemia? Emia is blood. Familial, family, hyper, high, cholesterol in your blood. Family, high cholesterol in your blood. FH is a problem with the LDL receptors on your liver. FH. In heterozygous FH, 50% of the LDL receptors are either damaged or not there. Homozygous FH, nearly 100% of your LDL receptors on the liver are damaged or not there. Homozygous FH. These people have high LDL. I mean high, like 600 high, 700, 800 high LDL. You have to know how you're going to treat these people if they need to be treated. The problem with homozygous FH, or really any high cholesterol, is finding out if you have a blood clot disorder. The LDL is not what is killing a person with FH. It's blood clots that kill the person. Remember, LDL is way down the list. Blood clots, number one on the list. A blood clot that develops from an injury. You are the person who never, ever, ever, never wants to have an injury on your lining of your arteries, okay? An FH person, you need to test for, you need to test everybody, but especially an FH person. If you diagnose over 190 or over 400, you need to look into their genetic problem. You need to get an LDLR. You need to check that gene, that level. You need to check a PCSK9 level, and you need to check the ApoB. FH can have a problem with all three of those genes, or just one of them. We don't know. Okay. But the treatment is different. But first of all, you need to check a fibrinogen level, a factor 8, a factor 5, a prothrombin, and an LP little a. That's what I would check on people. A fibrinogen, a factor 8, factor 5, prothrombin, and an LP little a. I want to know what is going on. Is this person at high risk for a blood clot? If that is the case, it really doesn't matter about their LDL, okay? All right. We're worried about a blood clot traveling to the brain or the heart, either a brain attack or a heart attack. These people are very high risk of blood clots. And that person is very susceptible to high LP little a, not because of the LP little a being high, because LP little a encourages blood clots. Done deal. Okay. There's a lot to be known. It's not willy nilly hit you from all angles to lower your LDL. There are people with heterozygous FH, familial hypercholesterolemia, who actually have been shown to live longer than the average person. That means their LDL is keeping them alive longer, not lesser, not lowering their lifespan, increasing their lifespan. The studies are on PubMed. Search high LDL and high life expectancy or high longevity. You'll see it. It's right there for the picking. Okay. Um, SAR wants to send the function test numbers if I can. Yeah, you can, but honestly, we need to sign you up for a consultation. Okay, and I'll go over these things. It's worth it to go to hire me for a one-on-one consultation. Okay, and we can go over all of these labs. Okay, um, because SAR is saying that their medium LDLs are high, their LDL particle numbers 3,000, and there's a lot to go over here. The peak size. I mean, there's a lot. I would have to really go into all of the reference ranges and all of that. Okay. You email me, SAR at ironladydoc at AOL.com. IRON, so iron lady, LADY doc, DOC at AOL.com. Yali has an LP little a of 260, a CRP of 1.2. I mean, we like it less than 1, but that's pretty good, right? A triglyceride of 63. Excellent. Less than 70. Total cholesterol 295. Doesn't really tell me anything. HDL of 113. Greater than 70. Excellent. A VLDL of 13. Why is the VLDL a little higher? I'm going to tell you. The LDL in Yali is 223. Why is it 223? What is causing the LDL to be elevated? And you can go back, well, I guess you can't, Yali, because part 1 of this marathon live stream, we talked about different causes of high LDL. Okay. Is your liver overproducing LDL? Do you have an LDL receptor problem? Do you have a PCSK9 protein problem? Do you have a hyperabsorption problem? I do not know any of that, Yali, by just looking at but metabolically, you are metabolically stable with a high HDL and a low triglyceride and a low CRP. But what happens when I jump to conclusions and say, "Oh, Yali, you're fine." I don't know that, because your LDL could not be reaching back to the liver and they stay in the bloodstream longer. And then your liver will produce VLDLs. And then the VLDLs will bump into the LDLs. They'll exchange contents. They exchange contents. VLDLs will give the LDLs triglycerides, and the LDL will dump its cholesterol back into the VLDL. Not a good thing. This leads to small, dense LDLs in the bloodstream. And small, dense LDLs are damaged. They are easily oxidized and damaged, and they lead to stickiness. And if you have an injury to the lining of the artery, there goes your LPL to the rescue, LP little a to the rescue, and there goes your small dense LDLs to the rescue. That is sticky components making their bed in the injury of the arterial lining. Not a good thing. So, Yali, I wish I knew everything, but yeah, being on rosuvastatin for years and your numbers keep going up would tell me, Yali, that you are a hyper absorber. You have an hyperactive NPC1L1 receptor in your gut. You are reabsorbing over and over and over and over your LDL. Your liver's not taking it up. You don't have a problem making too much LDL. You would know that if rosuvastatin blocks production of LDL in the liver. So if rosuvastatin is not working, that tells me that you don't have a liver production problem. You have an absorption problem. So with an absorption problem, you don't want to use a statin because it'll make your problem worse. When you shut down production in your in the cholesterol in your liver, your body senses low cholesterol, so it upregulates the NPC1L1 receptor in your gut, making that receptor take in more LDL and recirculating instead of you pooping it out. I don't know if that made sense to you or not, but that's how we get rid of cholesterol is in our bile and we poop it out. That's why our poop is brown. It's the bile. It's the, okay. So anyway, yeah, but your body could be reabsorbing it. So it doesn't go out of your pooper. It stays back in circulation. So your LDLs go up and your doctor is causing the exact same problem. So he either bumps you up on rosuvastatin to some godly number, 40 milligrams, and he adds something else to you. He might be smart, which is dumb, because he gave you a statin when it wasn't working. He's decided, I'm just going to keep you on it for years. It's got to be doing something. Yeah, making things worse. Yeah, indica, right? Yikes. Yikes. Because they didn't know the diagnosis. So maybe Yali would benefit from just plain Zetia. Zetia actually blocks the NPC1L1 receptor in the gut. And then all of a sudden your LDL levels will plummet, go down. Zetia. You want a pill for an ill? You need Zetia if you're a hyperabsorber. Or, I don't always recommend this, but fiber. Yes, Iron Lady Doc at AOL.com is my email. Yes. So, Yali, you could prove it to your doctor. You could get a cholesterol balance test. You can check your desmosterol level and your lathosterol level. And if those are high, you are a producer of too much LDL cholesterol. Okay. But that's not you, or else the statin would work, and it's not. So you could get a siderosterol level, sideros, S-I-T-E-R, citro, C-I, excuse me, S-I-T-O, sterol, S-T-E-R-O-L, sidosterol level. If that's high, you're an absorber, a too much absorber. You would benefit from Zetia. If you're going to take something to lower LDL because you think it's a problem, you need Zetia, not a statin. Okay? I didn't know this stuff either, Yali. This is amazing information. I should have known these things. If I'm going to give a pill for your ill, should I not know what it's doing to our body? Should I know what's doing to your body? Or I don't care. I'm treating a number because it's standard of care and I'm not going to get sued and I'll get reimbursed with a whole bunch of money. I don't know. I don't know if you have a genetic problem, but if you do, Yali, and it is an overactive vacuum cleaner in your gut because of NPC1L1 receptor, then you are at high risk of Alzheimer's disease. People who have the ApoE4 gene usually have an overactive NPC1L1 receptor in their gut. Okay. So if you want to know, you can't really check the NPC1L1 receptor in your body, but you can check these other things. And if I remember right in my notes, again, I can't remember if it's the ARG dash one. I can't remember if that is, no, that's not it. That's for M2 macrophages. I think you would still do the cholesterol balance test. You would test the siderosterol or the camposterol, and if those are high, then you have an overactive NPC1L1. Okay. And if I did have that, I probably would check an ApoE4 gene. And if it was positive, there's a possibility, and I'm not a pill for every ill, but I think I would take Zetia. I really do. I think I would probably take Zetia. Okay. Okay. I would want to stop the reabsorption of the LDL. Yali, I hope you learned something from what I just said, and you can look into this further, okay? Gina says, "Hi, Doc, I need a consultation. How do I do that?" You email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. Email me at ironladydoc@aol.com. And then I can send you some information and you can fill it out, and then we'll get a consultation set up. Yali says, "It does make sense. So what do I do?" Hopefully you got that part too, or you understand that too. You want to get a couple of other tests to see if you're a hyperabsorber. And if you are high in siderosterol or camposterol, then you likely need to stop your rosuvastatin. Again, this is not medical advice. This is for information purposes only. You need to follow up with your PCP. But if you have an overactive vacuum in your gut, sucking up all of your cholesterol back into circulation, taking a statin is not the answer, because it's making your NPC, the receptor in your gut, even more upregulated to even take up more and more LDL. It's the wrong choice. I think it's the wrong choice. Okay, I think it's the wrong choice. And you've proven it to me. You told me that you're on high dose statin, rosuvastatin, and it's your LDL is going up. I mean, it doesn't take a brain scientist to say that rosuvastatin's not working. Okay? So ironladydoc@aol.com. Yep. Thank you, Gina. Doc, DOC. Iron Lady Doc, DOC. IRONLADYDOC, like doctor, at AOL.com. All right. You guys, check and see if you're following me. If you like this information, please follow. Please follow. And please hit the like button, hit the thumb up, hit the hearts, hit the, do the clickety clack. I call it the clickety clack. I am taking sirolimus, rapamune for genetic condition. And two of the common side effects are high blood pressure and high cholesterol. So I take the meds for both. I'm not familiar with sirolimus, which is rapamune. I don't even know what you're using it for, a genetic condition. I'm sorry. That has never come up in my wheelhouse. But I don't know if you are absorbing too much LDL or your liver is going haywire and making LDL. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know that answer. Okay, so that answers that. Jack says, "I would like to know how many doctors are metabolically healthy." I mean, Jack, really, just look at them. Just look at them. Okay. So I think that will answer your question. Okay. All right. We will call it quits. Lord willing, I will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central. We do this every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central, every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central. And then during the week, I try to do a reel to give you information on some topic that I found interesting to me. It is what it is. I guess I'm doing it for myself. So I will study up on something, and then I will share what I find. And Ellen, I think it's Ellen, how do you treat mild fatty liver? You lower your insulin, as plain as simple as that. Get your insulin level down between 3 and 5 and stop eating carbohydrates. Okay, so I want to end with a verse that it's going to hit home, and just think about it. The verse says this: examine everything carefully. It says, test everything, test everything, not some things. It says, test everything, examine everything carefully, hold fast to that which is good, and abstain from every form of evil. When somebody asks me, how, how do I know what the truth is? I go back to this verse from First Thessalonians 5, verses 21 and 22. First Thessalonians 5, verses 21 and 22. Test everything, you guys. Examine everything carefully. Even what I'm giving you today, examine it carefully. Get out of your echo chamber. Expand your brain. I had to, you guys do too. If you want to be your own doctor, you have to educate yourself. And, you can complain all day long that I'm talking over your head. I'm not talking over your head, okay? I'm talking over your ability to go look stuff up. You've been fed everything, everything. You don't look stuff up on your own. You don't use your brain. Why do I say this? Because I was one of them. I just accepted everything I was told in medical school, in residency, and for 20 years after that. Everything I was told, it went in one ear and stuck to my brain, and I didn't think I needed to read anything else. If I was following standard of care, I'm not going to get sued and I'm going to get paid. Then God said, hold on, test everything, hold fast to that which is good. And he's the good. We are not the good. He's the good. Hold fast to me, says God, says Jesus. Hold fast to me. And let's kick the evil out. What is their agenda for spreading all of this information to us for the last 30, 40, 50 years? Because nothing has improved. It's gotten worse. There's more diabetes. There's more heart attacks. There's more strokes. There's more Parkinson's. There's more dementias. There's more MS. There's more everything. And the population is actually going down because people aren't fertile. So our baby making processes are going down. So if you think the population is going up, it's because we're letting people in, not making more. Something is going on. Get out of the echo chamber, jump out of the matrix, have God open your eyes, and let's figure this stuff out together. Let's get on a journey. I don't know it all. I don't even know if what I'm telling you is completely right. But at least I'm opening up your brain and getting you guys to think and maybe look it up and prove me wrong or prove me right. You guys are doing it all the time online. I see it. Your questions are sometimes very, very rude, or you just tell me they're not even a question and they're rude. You're wrong. Well, why am I wrong? Because. Because why? Because that's not what the cardiologist says. Well, who are the cardiologists? Who cares? Do you have to have some letters behind your name? Half you guys, Jack and 1910 and Yali and all of you guys are smarter than the doctors I know. I mean, at least you know what an insulin level is. Ask how many, what's an insulin level? What's my insulin level, doctor? I don't know. You don't need to know that. Well, why not? Do I have diabetes or not diabetes? Am I going to get diabetes? Well, I don't know. But if you do, here's your insulin. Well, I was taught that type 2 diabetes is hyperinsulinemia. Why do I want to add more insulin? Aren't you poisoning me? You know what? I just think that you and I just aren't going to sit eye to eye, so you need to find a new doctor. That's how they do it. That's how they do it, you guys. They don't want you to disrupt their ego. I don't like it, okay? But I'm a little more humble than they are. But I'm speaking for the they, and I don't know who they are, but you guys tell me that your doctor won't even order an insulin level because you don't need it. Really? Why don't you think I need it, doctor? I think I'm insulin resistant. Well, who cares if you're insulin resistant? Well, if I'm insulin resistant, I'm hurting my arteries. Well, that doesn't matter. We got to lower your LDL. Do you see the conversation and how it goes? There's no transfer of information. It's set in stone. Your LDL's over 130, here's your medicine. Your diabetes is over 7.0, here's your medicine. You got Parkinson's, here's your memory medicine. You got depression, here's your antidepressant. You guys are better than that. We'll meet back tomorrow. We'll talk about some things. Bring your questions. I'll try to go through your labs and tell you what you may need in addition. But you guys are getting this, okay? You're getting it. You're I've been doing it for 3 years. I'm still learning every single day. I'm still learning, okay? And I'm going to try to help you guys learn. All right. Summer, you're very welcome. Let's meet back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Lord willing, I'll be back here. Okay. So you guys have a blessed Saturday. It's 1 week before my birthday. This is my birthday month. I'm trying to raise $100 for rescue rehab and rehome, which is a rescue for dogs that is very, very important to me. And one person already gave $100. Now, you guys could still give a dollar or two, and we'll raise even more than $100 by the end of May. Can we do it? Yes. So Instagrammers, hit the $1. Just donate a dollar, okay? And just stop don't buy one coffee this week, and just donate $1 to rescue rehab and rehome for everybody listening right now. Okay. All right. You guys, Lord willing, back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Central. See ya.